Welcome to Warrior Commission Now, where we talk about practical ways to live your commission in the Lord. And Sharon Rudolph and I are here today to just share a little bit about what God is talking to us, to our hearts. And really, these were conversations, these were calls that we had, and we just felt like the Lord said, push record. and so we started doing that. And in that process, we just want to invite you in and invite you into the conversation. Sharon and I are part of a community called the Warrior Commission. We have seen incredible breakthroughs in the lives of people who are we call them warriors, who are part of our warrior tribe. We see them develop in their relationship with God. We really say that to us, everything boils down to intimacy with the Lord and heartfelt connections with each other. And all of that will culminate, if you will, into a really full life with Christ. Because when you know who you are and whose you are, the things that you do and how you put your action, if you will, to practice is more of an outflow than a first priority. So we're in this conversation. So we decided, let's push record about this, about being firmly planted. Yes. And with all of this stuff that has happened in the last few years, with COVID coming through, with just economies not necessarily being stable, with all the movement that we're seeing with people moving from one place to another, the job shifts, all those changes that are happening, it can look on the surface like something that is almost very scary and that nothing's stable. Yes. But what we love is that we've had this incredible excitement that has been a part of the last few years, because we see that God is moving in such amazing ways. And so part of that, being able to not be shaken when everything around you is shaking, is about being firmly planted. So Sharon, you have I think a scripture verse that was part of this conversation, and I just wanted to bring that in.
Yeah, so this is Psalm 1, and this is New American Standard. And verse 3 says, "He will be like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in its season. Its leaf does not wither, and in whatever he does, he prospers." And the Lord's been talking with me about the difference between being, it's the story of Jesus told about living on sand or living on a rock. Mm-hmm. And you can be planted next to the water, but if you're on sand, might not be too stable. But if you're next to the water on a rock that doesn't move, it doesn't matter what flows down the river, it doesn't matter what's going on around you, mm-hmm. You are stable. And it is Jesus who is that rock. Mm-hmm. It is the heart of God for us. That is that rock. And I think we were having a conversation. What is it to be firmly planted, mm-hmm. on that rock, so that when the shaking happens, it doesn't derail us? Mm-hmm. And there's something amazing about living in life with a God who wants to live with us and partner with us and wants us to partner with him. Mm-hmm. He has something for us beyond our understanding. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes within our grasp, right? So as we partner with God and he is our rock, it doesn't matter if we're going to move. It doesn't matter if the economy changes. It doesn't matter if I can't go to church on Sunday, mm-hmm. right? He's still there, and my life in him is stable, mm-hmm. if that makes sense. Now, sometimes the practice of learning how to be stable as all that is going on can be a challenge.
Yes, it can. But, I think part of the thing when I think that word prosperous gets taken out of context, because in our human thinking, we put numbers to it, whether that's financial
Right.
numbers or numbers of people who are around us, or, I don't know. We just want to quantify it. And so there's a stepping back, I think, into God's heart to say, what is prosperity? And stability
Right.
in the midst of when everything around us can be shaken, and yet you aren't.
Right.
That's prospering.
Yes.
Because there's a different way that you'll approach a situation like that is completely different than if you yourself are being shaken and are panicking.
Right.
Because when you're panicking, you're just going to run around like a chicken with its head cut off. I mean, you're just going to be all over the place. And there tends to be, when you're in a place of panic, there tends to be a lessening of listening to what the Lord is saying or connecting with him, and more of a reaction to what's going on around you. And so you lose the ability to be intentional of what it looks like to walk with him or partner with him. And so that being firmly planted peace, being firmly planted in him as the rock of our lives, as the constant that never changes, as the beginning and the end, as the one who knows what will come, what has come, and what will be. God is sovereign. And when we are able to be firmly planted in his sovereignty, even if the world around us seems out of control, we don't have to try to control it, because we know God's in control. And so there's a different way of living life. There's a different stress level. There's a different peace that comes in those kinds of times. And those fruit of the Spirit are prospering in times that are chaotic. So looking at prosperity, looking at what it is to be prosperous through the lens of God's constancy and what that means in our lives and what that looks like, I think is so key to what it is to be firmly planted in him.
Yes. And I love that you brought up that word sovereignty, because a lot of people, if you don't live in a country that has a monarchy, it's not a word you hear very often.
Mm-hmm.
And yet that word sovereign, there is an authority there that is stability. And is about the well-being of everyone who is a part of that kingdom or of that nation. It's about the well-being of the nation and the kingdom. And being part of the kingdom of God, he makes it possible for us to trust him, that he is a good sovereign, that he is a good father, and that his definition of prosperity is really what we need. So we always have on hand the opportunity to embrace his definition of prosperity. And in embracing that, you get all the benefits of his sovereignty.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do want to address too, when things are shaking around us, that doesn't mean that we won't be impacted, in the sense of God may have some things he wants to develop in us that may require a position change. We may move in that process, and we may not completely understand why. There may be things that happen that aren't what we would define as stable, right? A job loss is not something people typically define as that stability, right? So we also have to kind of shift what our understanding of stability is, and what it is to be firmly planted in that stability of who God is, because he does allow things that are shaking around us to develop us and to grow us. That's when choices are made. Will we stay true to him? Will we have faith? Will we follow him? Will
Right.
our yes be yes? Will it stay on the table? All of those things are in the process of being reexamined and really
Yes.
upped. There's an upping that comes in that.
Right.
We call it an upgrade. There's something that happens in that where those choices actually take us into an even more firmly planted lifestyle with
Yes.
them. And so it's important to realize that just because things are shaking and you feel like there's growth and development doesn't mean that you're not firmly planted, but it
Right.
does mean that God's taking you into a place where you can be even more firmly planted in him
Yes.
when the next shaking comes. So, it's part of the process of growth.
And one of the things we talk about in the Warrior Commission is being able to sleep with Jesus in the boat.
Right.
There's that story about how Jesus was asleep in the boat and the disciples were getting all upset, right? There's a storm. Don't you know we might die?
Yeah. And thank you, Linda Smallbones, for bringing that back up for us.
Yeah. And so being able to say no.
Yeah.
I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to try to make something happen here. I can sleep with Jesus in the boat so that as the storm wanes, I am ready for the next thing.
Exactly.
And that is part of being on the journey with Jesus, as opposed to feeling like we have to work for him, right? So what if as the storm is raging, it's not about what we do, it's about whose we are.
Mhm.
And that has the biggest impact on our life.
Yeah.
So do you have any other thoughts on that,
I
Christine?
I don't.
Oh, cool.
We are good.
So yes, so we would like to help you guys be firmly planted. Do you feel firmly planted? What does that mean to you?
Mhm.
What do you think might need to be adjusted in your life so that you are? Because even though in it seems that things in the world are starting to settle out after the last year and a half, we never know what's ahead.
Mhm.
And I love how God helps us get ready.
Mhm.
So you might want to ask him how he wants to help you prepare to be more firmly planted as you move forward.
Mhm.
And you might want to check out the Warrior Commission, where we love to train and develop and do relationship and pursue God from a mindset of, yes, I do want to be firmly planted. I do want to be able to sleep in the boat with Jesus
Mhm.
and not be shaken. So come check us out and see what's on hand. Thank you for
Oh,
joining us today.
y'all have a great day.